Hello and welcome back to Avatar the Podcast.
Video format.
Video format.
Unless you're listening, in which case, still audio format.
Yep. We decided to do something a little different, upgrade our podcast a little bit. And so going forward, we're going to be recording our episodes with video so we can put them on YouTube.
Yes. It's
So
so
now you have
exciting.
the option.
You have an option. You can look at our face or not.
Yes, because you can listen either way.
Either way. It doesn't matter. Although you'll hurt my feelings if you decide not to look at our faces. Just saying.
I mean, Greg asks you to come look at his face on Twitch every week.
It's
So
true. I put on a collar shirt for everyone. Look how nice I look.
I know, you look so nice.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be back, by the way.
I am too.
Yes.
I know.
It's been so long.
I hope it hasn't been too much of a wait for you all because
Hopefully.
it flew by for us. We were talking a couple days ago and we're like, oh my God, it's April. Where did this come from? How did so much time go by?
It's been a long wait. I think I've rewatched the first episode maybe 7 times.
Really?
Oh, quite a bit. That might be an over-exaggeration, but more than 3, maybe less than 7, somewhere in the middle there.
More than 3, less than 7.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, well, quite a bit. And then this morning, too, I didn't even realize I didn't listen to the audio commentary. So I got that done before we recorded.
See, I'm so bummed that I didn't realize there was an audio commentary or because I want to watch that now. And I didn't have time before we recorded. So we're going to have to rely on you, Greg, to share all the juicy details from the commentary.
Yes, all of the juicy, very subjective that I thought was important details. Yes. I will say this, that the audio commentary, at least on the first episode, included Janet Varney, who we all know is the voice of Korra, and Bryke. And everyone will be reassured to know that I can no longer tell Bryke apart from their voices. I could for like 2 episodes, and it's just gone.
Yeah.
They're the same voice now, as far as I'm concerned.
They're called Bryke for a reason.
That's true.
So
that's true.
They're one entity.
I had a thought too, by the way. How do you spell Bryke?
Bryke.
That's how I spell it. But I'm wondering if there are any Brike people out there. Wonder if there's like a little...
Like a bike with an R?
Yeah. Because you think Bry because Brian Konecki is Bryain, but Mike spells his name Mike. So why does Brian get 3 letters in the in this mashup
I see where
of
you're
names,
going with this.
but not
Okay.
Mike? It's just not fair.
So it's Bryike. There you go.
That's just too much. Bryke.
Right.
It's terrible. Remember when we said we're going to stay on topic? We're going to make these episodes because we're getting video a little shorter. And then I went on a tangent about Bryke versus Bryke.
It was necessary. It's a really good point, Greg.
Thank you.
2 letters versus 3 letters. That's hot air topic.
This is my contribution to the show, everyone, by the way. Bryke versus Bryke.
Well, since you did point it out, let's move on to our reviews because we're back with Korra, and we're also back with some more 5-star reviews.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll read first. I want to read the first.
Okay.
The first review of 2023 and of The Legend of Korra we're reading comes from Pika Person 123, and they write, "Angtastic, the best. My favorite podcast. My favorite characters are Sokka, Toph, and Iroh. Thanks for this podcast, Acorn and Greg. Cabbage cart forever," and there's a little cabbage emoji on there too. Drink tea, not war, Iroh. Toph rules, and I'm going to say 4,522.0145 repeating, exclamation marks.
Seems accurate, yeah.
Thank you forever. And then there's a little bit less there. There's 2,142.10223445 repeating. Exclamation marks. I was searching for this podcast on Apple and I tried to write a review when I found this, and there's an up arrow. I don't know if that's supposed to be like Aang's arrow. Maybe?
No, Aang's arrow would be pointing the other direction. Maybe they're referring to like this podcast.
Oh, this pod. I thought it was like Aang's arrow, like on his hand when he like does like an uppercut because then it's pointing up. Anyways, or it could be Aang lying down or upside down doing a headstand.
I think we're overthinking this.
We're overthinking this. I don't know when I wrote it, but this is still my favorite podcast. I like how you guys delve into the lore and background of the story. It makes the comics and show so much more fun to see. I just got it.
What?
Pika Person 123 wrote a review previously, and they forgot that they wrote a review. And then they came back and added to the review. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it might be.
Okay.
Anyways, The Legend of Korra is my second favorite, so I can't wait for you to do all of the episodes. Favorite characters of the show, in all caps, Sokka, Toph, Korra. It says two-handle. I'm sure that's a typo.
No.
Oh, two Toph, two-handle. I feel I've failed you, Pika Person.
You missed the pun. That was for you, Greg. Pika Person wrote that for you specifically.
What a shame. That's it. I'm fired. That's it.
All right, we're rusty. It's okay. Yeah, I know. 2 Toph,
2 Handle, 3 Korra, 4 Buff Iroh. That's a good number 4. And last but not least, the Kyoshi Island fainting person. Frothy.
Yes.
Again, thanks for the show, Acorn and Greg. Have an angtastic and Korra-rific The Legend of Korra.
Have we talked about Korra-rific yet?
We've not. I'm not opposed to it. Korra-rific.
I like it.
It's a lot of rah-rahs. Korrific? No, that sounds horrific.
No. Yeah. Korra-rific.
Korra-rific. I'm gonna mess that up. I'm gonna all the time.
It's a good contender. Let's think about it. We'll consider.
We'll workshop it.
Yes, we'll workshop it. Thank you so much, Pika Person, for that review.
Mm-hmm.
Our next review comes from Mo Eilick. Yeah, Mo Eilick, who writes, short and sweet. Awesome. This podcast is amazing.
Thank you. I don't remember if we got this as an email or if we got this as a review somewhere. I'm forgetting. Someone brought up something that devastated my world. It shouldn't be amazing. It should be amazing.
Oh, no.
My life is ruined forever.
Amazing. That's really good.
It's very good. It's better than amazing.
Oh, no.
But because I'm stubborn, I'm sticking with amazing.
I mean, also, isn't amazing kind of low-hanging fruit? You know, like it's what all the other podcasts would come up with.
We reached. We
never
mind what I said before. We considered that because clearly we did, and we decided on amazing. Our marketing team decided that was the better option.
Which is the Momo in your brain.
It's the Momo in my brain. It's Momo and Pabu in my brain, just running around in circles. That's our marketing team, everyone.
Yes, actually.
And they decided through rigorous testing that amazing just tests better.
Yeah, so, there you go.
That's what it is.
All right, saved.
Okay. The next review comes from H2O Dude 398, and they write. This is the best podcast ever. I hope you shout this out on your podcast. I love your guys' podcast. Not caught up just yet, but I found it like a few weeks ago. Stay flamin'. Also, your podcast is amazing. See?
Yep.
It just works.
The public likes it. Yep.
Never question the marketing team. H2O Dude 398. Thank you so much for that review. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Our next one is Rev It Up 96, who writes amazing as crap. Crap is amazing.
It's pretty amazing. I got a lot of it. Look at my background.
They go on to say, hey, Acorn and Booster Greg, I absolutely love your podcast, and I know I'm late, but I wanted to say a few things. One, I love how you deep dive into the show and make connections with other shows, actors, etc. It's kind of new to me, but I like it. 2, Greg, your puns are annoying/funny, and I can imagine these episodes without them. I don't know if that's a typo. Can imagine or can't imagine?
For my sanity, I'm gonna assume that it's can't imagine without them.
Yes. Okay. 3, Acorn Bandit, I love your name simply because it's goofy and I love Goofy. My top favorite characters are, in descending order of favorites, Azula, Iroh, Katara, Toph, and Zuko. I absolutely love Azula's character and story throughout the series, from her cold open in the start of season 2 to her descent into madness in the series finale. She absolutely is the drive of season 2 and will stay in my favorite bad girl forever. You guys are awesome. The podcast is awesome. And I just wish I'd found it sooner. Much love.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Rev.
And
I agree.
I agree as well. Unless you meant that you can't imagine the show with him, then I disagree. Oh, you're talking about Azula.
I was talking about Azula. You're talking about your comment.
Of course I am. I'm keep on going back and forth with Azula, as everyone knows. And like I see her place in the world of Avatar. It doesn't mean I have to like her as a character, but I appreciate her arc as well.
You've come a long way. That's fine. I'll accept that answer. Because originally you were like, I don't get it. I don't know.
I get it. It's just a weird place for me to be. And I think a lot of people are just like, he doesn't like this character, therefore he doesn't get it. But like, you can get it and just not like the character. Or not even not have them be a top character. So just saying that. Just starting off the Legend of Korra combative, getting ready, ducking and weaving, ready to... No, I'm not punching you. I'm just kidding. I would never. I'm a lover, not a fighter, please. Everyone, thank you all so much for leaving all of these wonderful 5-star reviews. If you have not heard yours read yet, it's either because A, it's not written yet, so I can't read it. Acorn can't read it if it's not written, or B, it'll be next week or the week after.
Yep.
It's one of those.
We've only had a couple of reviews come in during our hiatus between seasons, we'll call them. So if you did write your review recently, chances are we're going to read it really soon.
Yes.
So hang tight. Stay tuned.
Hang tight.
Yes.
With 2 A's and G.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. First official pun of the Korra season. All right.
I had to explain it, which made it 44.3% funnier.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, without further ado, let's jump into Korra, Book 1, Episode 1. Welcome to Republic City, or as we like to call it,
Avatar, the Next Generation.
Now, I feel like you can take that a couple ways, but with me, I'm going to age myself. Degrassi was a show when I was a teenager, and it was called Degrassi, the Next Generation. So I'm just going to say the reference to me is to Degrassi, but feels like take it however you want. It could refer to a couple different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like there's a Marvel reference in there somewhere, too.
There's everything. I was thinking Star Trek, even though I'm not much of a Trekkie myself.
Star Trek. That's right.
Where I was going with that.
Okay.
It could be that. It could be, what was Saved by, those are the New Class. Never mind. I was thinking Saved by the Bell, the New Class, but it was Generation, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, we're old.
You're old.
Anyway, the scene opens on a snowy night in the South Pole, where a group of travelers are seen approaching a small hut. They're greeted at the door by a man holding a lantern who identifies them as the Order of the White Lotus. He invites them into the home, and we see that it is in shambles. The floor is littered with rocks and scraps of wood, the walls lined with toppled vases and broken pottery. 2 sheets hang on rope against the wall, and in the center of the room is a woman trying vainly to sweep up the mess. She stops when she sees the men and smiles nervously.
I love her, by the way. I love everything about this scene. I love that when they open the door, a shield falls off of the wall. It just shows how like this poor family, or these poor parents rather, are trying to keep their home together when we're about to see what happens. Like they're just with all of their might, just trying to make sure that everything has its place and is proper and everything. And then any sort of like little bit of difference, it all falls apart. It's wonderful.
I feel like you're in the perfect position to like really talk about this as a parent yourself. You know, you walk into the house in shambles after the kid has done their kid thing and left their toys out and everything. And then meanwhile, you know, one of the parents is there just like holding the broom, just like grinning, going, "Hi, welcome to our home.
Everything's normal. Please ignore the small bit of dirt in the corner."
Yes.
I've not gotten to it yet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That was my first thought.
I couldn't relate more to like a moment than that. It was really good.
Yep. And I'm sure you're going to relate more to the next part, because from here, the leader of the order blandly informs them that they've been researching many claims, all of which have turned out to be false leads. The woman responds that they will be happy to know that their searching has come to an end. And of course, they have been searching for the next avatar. The leader is dubious about this response and asks, well, what makes you so sure your daughter is the one we've been looking for? And so the woman calls for Korra, and a chunk of the wall goes flying in front of their faces. And a toddler appears in the hole and announces herself as the avatar, telling the group that they can deal with it. To the order's amazement, she proceeds to bend fire, earth, and water in succession, proving that she is indeed the next avatar.
Indeed. A couple little voice acting notes here really quickly.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait, no. After having so many episodes about the comics, I've missed the voice acting notes so much. So everyone gather close and listen. Greg's about to share our first voice acting notes of Korra.
All right, is everyone really close to the speaker right now? You're really sure you're remote? Good, let's go. So first off is the White Lotus leader. This voiced by Stephen Root, if that sounded familiar to you. If you've seen Office Space, Stephen Root played the character Milton, who was always talking about his staplers, his swing line stapler. He was also Gordon in Dodgeball. He played Bill and Buck Strickland from King of the Hill. Dr. Donovan in Big Guy and Rusty the Boy Robot, which is actually one of my favorite cartoons of all times. And he was in News Radio as Jimmy James. He's like a comedic actor, like classic. Like if you saw him, you would know him immediately.
Okay.
The voice of Korra's father, as well as a protester that we'll see later on, and a police officer, is none other than, I'm going to butcher this name. I'm so sorry. I butchered it in Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm going to butcher it now. It is Carlos Alizraki, I believe is how that's pronounced.
Okay.
And he was the voice of Duan To from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Crocker from The Fairly Odd Parents. He was in Reno 911 as Deputy James Garcia. He was in SpongeBob. If you're a Nickelodeon fan, Cat Dog. He was Winslow, their mouse neighbor. He was in the show Mucha Lucha as Ricochet, and in Rocco's Modern Life as Rocco and Spunky. He's the voice of Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life.
Oh my gosh. I mean, again, talk about throwbacks. Rocco's Modern Life, man.
Yes.
I was not allowed to watch that show as a kid.
I was allowed. I just didn't get it when I was a kid. It wasn't I probably would find it a lot more interesting now. But as a kid, I was like, I don't know. And this one I learned from the DVD commentary. The voice of toddler Korra is not Janet Varney. It is the voice of Korra Baker is her name. And she is the daughter of Dee Bradley Baker, who voices Momo and Appa and almost any animal you can think of in animation.
Oh my gosh, really? That's so cool.
I know. I thought that was really cool too, because they were talking about it on the commentary. Like, oh yeah, like this person's name was also Korra. And I was like, that's really cool. And they're like, Korra Baker. And I was like, you mean? And they're like, yes, Dee Bradley Baker's daughter. And I'm like, I lost my mind.
That's amazing.
Really cool.
I didn't think that Janet Varney voiced toddler Korra, but I did think, and you may have said this and I completely missed it. Who's the voice of Korra's mom in the scene?
That's a good question. I didn't see it. It
sounds like Janet Varney. I thought that Janet Varney was voicing the mom and just kind of like pitching her voice differently.
Let's find out. Korra's mom. I didn't see that in the thing. It's actually looks like Alex McKenna is the voice of Korra's mom, who has been in such shows as 90210, Boston Public, 2.5 Men, Malcolm in the Middle, like a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay.
So that's Korra's mom.
Wow. Not Janet Varney. Shoot. This is why you're the voice acting person and not me.
And her name is Senna, by the way. Senna.
Yes.
Senna.
Yes.
Yeah, that didn't show up in my notes for some reason. I just had to do a quick Google. Sorry about that. I failed you. I have one job and I didn't have it to completion. I have literally 2 pages of voice acting notes and I somehow forgot Senna.
Well, that's too many voices to cover, and that's why I'm here.
It's a lot.
I'm your quality control.
Thank you. Yes. As everyone knows, the quality goes right out the window. If anyone watches my streams on Monday and Friday, never Wednesday, it's just right out the window. It's because Acorn's not there.
You do a good job. You do a good job without me. It's fine.
Debatable, but okay. Moving on.
Yeah, so we talked about Korra's mom. Korra's dad, I have to say this, Tonrock is his name, and apparently he is the chief of the Southern Water Tribe.
Interesting. Well,
I didn't know that.
They probably went to maybe a democratic. They did go to democratic style.
According to the comics,
yeah.
Yes, they did.
So it makes sense.
So he was probably voted, but he comes from a line of chiefs apparently. And so I just thought it was interesting that not only is Korra from the Southern Water Tribe, which is where we've been in Avatar, she also comes from the chief of the Southern Water Tribe. So we have kind of like a Pocahontas situation going on here.
And she also calls Katara Gran, which is what we're going to learn in a little bit too.
I know. Katara is Gran now. Yeah. And also just a reminder about the dates and the timeline. This is roughly about 50 years after the last comic that we covered. So it has been some time. Things have developed. We have democracy in the Southern Water Tribe. We have an elected chief. And we're going to find out that his family is going to be involved in the Korra timeline going forward. Yes. So we have found our avatar. Korra is the avatar. And in the show, we kind of skip ahead a couple years. And so we jump over to Korra, who is still in the South Pole, but she's training rigorously to master her bending. She spars with firebenders in front of the White Lotus and her teachers, exhibiting her firebending prowess. And Katara, who is Gran age, is standing there with them, white hair and stooped shoulders and all. And she comments to the others that Korra is strong, to which the leader of the order replies that she lacks restraint. After disarming each firebender, Korra excitedly approaches the group and asks why they seem so gloomy. They should be celebrating her master of the three elements, just one more to go. One of the elders warns her not to get ahead of herself, for they haven't decided if she's passed her firebending test yet. Even though she's always excelled at the physical side of bending ever since she was a little girl, she's completely ignored the spiritual side. And Korra self-consciously replies that, well, it's not that I've been ignoring it, it just doesn't come as easily to me. And she adds that this is the reason why she should train with Tenzin, because he's Mr. Spiritual. Katara agrees with her, saying Tenzin is the person who can teach her what she needs to learn. And the Order agrees that she can begin her airbending training. And at this point, Korra leaps into the air in celebration. She then goes to visit her polar bear dog, Naga, and leaves the compound for an afternoon ride.
I love Naga.
I love Naga so much. I have a couple notes about Naga.
Yeah, I remember when I first watched Korra, because I've only made it through season 1 in the past, and I don't remember a lot about it. Do you remember when I first saw Naga? I didn't have this instant connection with her. I was kind of like, oh, you're just trying to be the next Appa. Like, you're not Appa. Yeah. You'll never be Appa. Yep. But now that I'm older, maybe arguably a little wiser, more experienced in life, I have 2 dogs of my own. I grew up with dogs, but there's a difference between having your own dog and like having a dog growing up. There's just 2 different things. Yep. I just love her so much now. Like,
and fun fact, beautiful. She was based off of the original early concepts of the anthropomorphic polar bear dog who was originally going to travel with Aang.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if you look back at the original concept art, back when everyone's a little awkward and they weren't, the characters that we know and love now, the animal companion that they had in mind was a polar bear dog, very, very similar to Naga. And then that character eventually moved into Appa, and we have our flying bison. So I love that they recycled basically the idea.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Now, as far as the type of dog, I was reading that there's a couple different references. I personally think, and it was kind of noted online, that it's a cross between a polar bear and a Labrador retriever. And I see that. But there's also some notes about it being based off of the Congo, which is a breed of dog in the real world, and also sort of the Great Pyrenees.
That I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And also, apparently, Naga was modeled after the creators' dogs, Truman and Gunther, who are brothers. So here's another reason why we can't tell Break apart.
They have the same dog.
They have the same dog.
Wonderful.
Final note about Naga before we move on is apparently Naga is the first polar bear dog to ever be tamed. And this comes from the original Nickelodeon archive. So again, fun fact. I feel though, if that's the case, people should have more of a reaction to Naga, kind of like they do to Appa. Like if Naga's the first polar bear dog to be tamed, then wouldn't they be like, oh my gosh, polar bear dog?
I don't know though, because like Do we do that about the first dog that's ever been tamed in the real world?
I mean, if I saw a polar bear walking down the street.
But it's not, it's a polar bear dog.
I'm just saying.
This is just their version of dog. It's like one of the many breeds of, like, it's like a husky.
But it's also like a polar bear. It only lives in the South Pole.
Right. But I think my more point is hybrids are really cool to us.
Yeah.
But to them, there's just like, oh, it must be Monday. Polar bear dog. You know?
I guess so. Yeah.
And I would argue that some people in the city did have kind of a bit of a reaction to seeing, because she is huge. Like she's big. She's the size of a polar bear. She has the head of a dog, right? And so they do have a reaction, but I don't know. I can see it going both ways. I think I get people like, oh, look, there's another polar bear dog, just like our flying bisons that we see over there, and
just
all
like our platypus bear.
Yeah, like everything. Our what was the other one? Our turtle ducks.
Turtle ducks. Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
I suppose so.
Per usual, I agree and disagree.
Well, also you could argue the fact that they're in the city now, and a lot of things and people and creatures are in the city. So it could just be like, oh,
that's true.
Something I'd never seen before. It's a Tuesday in Republic City.
Man, those Republic City folk, they cannot be impressed.
No. I don't like New Yorkers.
No. Seen it all.
Well, a few days later, Tenzin and his family arrive in the South Pole via flying bison named Oogie. Tenzin greets his mother, Katara, with his 3 children clinging to him, and he gratefully passes the youngest, Milo, to her. It's like, oh, thank God Grandma's here. But the boy runs off very quickly after basically doing a little boy thing and being like, you're not my grandma.
I love
or
Milo.
Whatever.
I love Milo so much.
You would. You would love Milo.
Just great. He's just great. He's just this ball of chaos in human form. Love him.
Guess who I love?
Who?
Jinora.
Jinora.
Of course.
Of course. That makes sense. Yes.
Because Jinora comes up to Katara and she's like, Gran, I've been reading all about your old adventures and I've been dying to ask you this question. What happened to Zuko's mother? And of course, before Katara can answer, she gets interrupted. Go ahead.
Do you want to know who people's voices are?
Yes, I do. Of course.
So we'll start with Milo, because Milo's a little underwhelming. It's voiced by Logan Wells, who, as far as I can tell, the only thing that he's been in that I recognize is the Jay and Silent Bob reboot movie, which is a little underwhelming, because Milo is very expertly voice acted, at least so far in the couple episodes that I've seen. Like, he's very animated, very like professional, right? Jinora is voiced by Kiernan Shipka, who you definitely know her, even though you don't know her name.
Yeah.
Played Sally Draper in Mad Men, and also played Sabrina in The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix.
Oh. Really? Oh, I do recognize that name now.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't recognize the name
I
either,
could never
and then I saw,
pronounce.
Yeah, I did literally. Your reaction right here is what I did when I was IMDbing. I was like, I don't know this person at all. Oh, I do. Tenzin is voiced by J.K. Simmons, who this sets the bar for voice acting on The Legend of Korra for me personally. J.K. Simmons, everyone will know, is in Whiplash, the movie. Like, he was the mean drummer teacher guy, right? J. Jonah Jameson from the Spider-Man, basically all the Spider-Man movies. If J. Jonah Jameson's in it, it's usually J.K. Simmons. He was in Juno. He played Omni-Man in the Amazon Prime Video Invincible show. If you've played Portal 2, you'll recognize his voice as Cave Johnson. He's also in the movie Palm Springs, opposite of Andy Samberg. I love J.K. Simmons. This is a short list of what he's in, by the way. The shortest of lists.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise, this would be a 15-minute segment right here alone on J.K. Simmons. Love him. Super talented. Like, I understand him to be a very wonderful individual as well. Iki, that was one of the other siblings' names, right? Iki is voiced by Darcy Rose Burns, who is in Big Shot, the Disney Plus show with John Stamos. She played Harper. Go Live Your Way, she played Augustina. Sophia the First as Princess Amber. And The Young and the Restless she was in. I was very surprised to see, because I don't think I've ever seen anything with Young and the Restless, but she played Abby Carlton Newman. And last but not least would be, there's 2 more. There's Katara, who is voiced by Eva Marie Saint, who is, acting royalty, essentially. She was in so many Hitchcock movies. She was also like Alfred Hitchcock.
Like Alfred
she's like a
Hitchcock?
classic actress. She was also in Superman Returns as Martha Kent, which I thought was pretty cool. That was one with Brandon Routh, if anyone saw that movie. North by Northwest, the movie, and On the Waterfront. It's like she's just been around for a very long time. I was bummed that it's not Mae Whitman's actual mother, who is also an actor, a voice actor. But this is like wonderful on its own right? Like it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I'm forgetting someone. Oh, Pema, who is Tenzin's wife, is voiced by Maria Bamford, who you know her because she voiced Kelsey Jennings and Deborah in BoJack Horseman. She was in Arrested Development as Debris Bardot. She was in Adventure Time as Slime Princess and Wildberry Princess and additional voices. Word Girl, which I didn't know was a thing. She was also in quite a few episodes. And she was in Hey Arnold as well as Mayor Dixie, Iggy's mom, and Stinky's grandmother. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
So.
Wow. Okay, cool.
But we got through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. So everyone listening, Greg has been hinting about how excited he was about this episode's voice acting notes. And now I can see why.
And we're not even 5 minutes into the episode right now in terms of actual watching.
No.
So
yeah,
we have
more characters to meet.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Korra is voiced by Jenna Farney. Duh. So like, if you don't know who she is, I don't know. Like, actually, I was very surprised. She was not in a lot before this. Yeah. And she's done a lot of different animated voices and such. She has her own podcasts. She's also obviously in Braving the Elements with Dante Bosco, which is the other Avatar, The Last Airbender podcast, I'll say.
The other one.
Far more talented, better, handsome, pretty, whatever than us. But like, we're like the second cousin.
We're the redheaded stepchild.
So to speak. Redheaded stepchild.
Well, that's interesting because I kind of feel like Janet Varney voices Korra very similarly to her own voice. You know, it's just like more like dramatized, but it sounds like her. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that she doesn't have much of a voice acting background because I feel like that could be one of the reasons why she's so close to Korra, the character. You know, like when you think of voice actors, you think of like the big names that have voiced like 50 characters and they're like, yeah, I'm a voice actor. And I did that character. But I kind of always got the feel from Janet that she's really proud to represent Korra and she kind of embodies Korra's character and always like talks about being Korra, like voicing her. So it's kind of nice. I like that.
Yeah.
So back to the story. We are in the South Pole. The Tenzin family has arrived. The kids are all over their dad. And Jinora just asked Korra, or sorry, not Korra, but Katara. I do that a lot in my notes. I hope I didn't typo anyone. But Jinora just asked Katara if she can tell the story about what happened to Zuko's mom. And back in the day when this first was airing and I watched this, I got so mad at Iki for jumping in and basically interrupting with a bunch of questions because I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what happened to Zuko's mom. But now, this time around, we have gone through the comics and we know what happened to Zuko's mom, and it is such a great story. So I am less irritated at Iki in this time.
Fair. That's fair.
We just talked about Pema, their mom, and she carefully dismounts the bison and admonishes Tenzin when he rushes to help her, telling him she's just pregnant, not helpless. Katara embraces her and places a hand over Pema's stomach, noting that the baby is strong and that she sees another airbender in the family's future. Is Pema excited about this? No. She frowns and says all she wants is a nice non-bender like herself who doesn't blast wind in her face every 5 seconds. And right on cue, Milo does just this, proving her point and blasting snow all over her face.
I love her so much. I bet you're expecting me to say I love him so much, but no, I love her so much because she has that same frazzled mom energy that Korra's mom has in the beginning.
Oh my gosh, she does actually. Yeah. Yes.
Very
yes.
interesting.
I love it. Pema then asks Katara if Tenzin and his siblings were as crazy as her own children back when they were kids. And Katara smiles in memory, noting that, well, yeah, Kaya and Bumi were, but Tenzin was always rather serious. And again, right on cue, we get a serious moment from Tenzin.
Can we note that Tenzin has a brother and a sister, and their names are Bumi and Kaya?
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Also, my heart's broken.
I love it.
But I love it.
Heart's broken, why?
Because if I mean, I know Aang's dead, and I know logically Bumi's been dead for quite some time, but it doesn't mean I can't grieve a little bit because Bumi's dead.
I know. Moment of silence for our favorite earthbending king.
Yeah. Mm.
I was very excited about the fact that the kids were named Kaya and Bumi.
I know.
I will say, when we finally met them, I was a little disappointed because they weren't as interesting as I thought they were going to be. But at the same time, they were older. They're like much, much older.
They're older, and no one's going to be as Bumi as the original Bumi.
I think so.
Right? Like he was just off of his rocker, and I wouldn't change it. But like, I don't remember who does the voice of Bumi, but I remember who does the voice of Kaya, and I'm going to save that for when Kaya shows up because it's, for me, it's a big kind of pull, but it's not like huge, like Brad Pitt is the voice of this person. Like, it's not like one of those, but for me, it's just like, I recognize, I know, and I appreciate that actress. So
cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
So just then, Tenzin notices Korra standing a ways behind Katara. He greets her warmly, telling her that she's grown into quite the young avatar. When Korra says she can't wait to get started with her training, Tenzin hesitates. He reveals that they're only staying for the night because they have to return to Republic City. Korra's airbending training will have to wait. They discuss the details that evening at dinner, and Korra asks how long until she can begin learning airbending, like a week, a month? And Tenzin explains that it's his responsibilities in Republic City that are pulling him back, and they're keeping him occupied at the moment because the situation there is just generally unstable, so he doesn't know. Korra comments that he also has a responsibility to teach her, only airbender who can teach the avatar. Mm-hmm. You kind of have a responsibility to teach me. But then she has an idea. She's like, okay, even though I can't go find another airbending teacher, I can just go home with you. I can just go to Republic City and learn there. The leader of the order who's having dinner with them disagrees immediately, claiming that the city is too dangerous. Avatar Aang tasked them with keeping Korra safe while she mastered the 4 elements, so she has to stay here. And Tenzin agrees, telling Korra, yeah, the timing just isn't right.
Yeah.
And disappointed, Korra leaves the table.
This seems off to me. This whole thing.
Tell us more.
I'm sorry. A single city needs my help versus the entire world.
Uh-huh.
Training the avatar is a huge honor. One of the largest honors, if not the largest honor that you can get as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And Tenzin's like, no, I got to clean up this city. I'm sorry. It's just like, it seems askew to me.
Yeah.
Like it's like the balance isn't quite there. And also, and I know this is going to happen later, obviously, but why can't she just go to him and live in Republic City?
I know. So that was interesting to me also watching this for the first time back in the day, because the situation here is completely and totally different from what we experienced in Avatar: The Last Airbender, because Aang was learning on the move. He was traveling throughout the world and learning bending at the same time. Meanwhile, Korra is kept in this compound, basically, kind of living a prisoner lifestyle, even though it's for her own good, quote unquote, whatever. But she's in one location for 14 years of her life or something like that. And she's just learning bending in the South Pole all by herself, just herself and her teachers. It seems a little extreme. And I agree. If she goes back to Republic City, then she's going to be secluded on Air Temple Island anyway. Like, I don't know why Tenzin doesn't think that that's safe or whatever, but this gives you an example of just how overcorrecting the group has been.
Yeah,
with the new avatar. It's like, okay, back when Aang was an avatar, the whole Fire Nation was looking to destroy him. Mm-hmm. A whole nation was hunting him and trying to kill him. So we're going to overcorrect and we're going to make this little safe compound for the new avatar to stay in so nothing will harm her ever.
Yeah, you're right. It is overcorrecting. I wasn't really looking at it that way. It was just like, for me, it felt like bad writing. But if I just like adjust my brain a little bit, because like all I could think of was the Roku episode in Avatar, where Roku traveled the world and learned bending in the respective nations.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just having Korra like basically walled off from the rest of the world. As if it's a big come to secret. Well, like they have to assume that like people are going to know roundabout where the next avatar is going to be as soon as Aang dies.
Yeah. They can't have kept it under wraps.
One of three places, realistically.
Yeah.
It's either going to be the swamps,
the
north, or the south.
Yeah. Which, okay, hang on. I got to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Will we get a swamp bender avatar? Because that would be so cool.
Oh, I wish.
I hope it's going to be a thing.
Or if you ask one specific town somewhere out there in the Earth Kingdom, I believe.
Yeah.
They might have already gotten a water tribe avatar. In the form of Saga from that one comic. Yep. But realistically, everyone knows that it's going to be a waterbender as the next avatar. So like there's only really three places you're looking.
Yeah, exactly. But I would like to think that the world does know that the avatar has been found, but maybe not details about who she is. Like, you know, her name is Korra. She's from the Southern Water Tribe. I mean, the fact that she's a chief's daughter is kind of a big deal. So I would feel like more people would know about that. But they generally are very, very concerned about keeping her safe, as we can see from this scene.
It does make sense, too, that they want to keep her safe because there's only one avatar. And then if they lose her, it's going to go, you know, find another one and then another one and another one. But, you know, and once we learn kind of what's going on in Republic City, it does make a bit more sense. But as of right now, when you're first watching this, you're just like, what is going on?
Well, the next day, Korra and Naga watch very depressed as the family leaves. And they fly off into the sunset with Oogie, their air bison. And Korra's watching this, and her expression suddenly shifts from sad to determined. And that night, she visits Naga in the stable and begins saddling her polar bear dog. And as she finishes, Katara comes up behind her and comments that, oh, it's a nice night for an escape. And Korra's startled, but she explains immediately, like, listen, I have to leave the South Pole. I have to find my own path as the Avatar. And surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, Katara agrees and says, yes, she understands. The time of her generation has passed, and this hurt me. She said, you know, my brother and many of my friends are gone, and it's now your duty and your generation's duty to take over the responsibility of maintaining peace and balance in the world. At this point, Katara embraces Korra, telling her she believes Korra will make a great avatar. And then the two say goodbye. Korra bends a path through the snow and away from the compound, and she goes and actually stops at her childhood home to say goodbye to her parents, who also understand that she needs to go and find her own destiny. And then we skip over to a steamship headed for Republic City, where Korra stashed herself away and Naga into the cargo hold, and she's just sitting there excited to go on the next leg of her journey and finally get away.
It's really cool to see Katara be like this passing of the torch role, you know? And Bryke mentioned this in the DVD commentary, where in the first series, it was Gran. That was kind of went to Katara and was kind of like, go out into the world, like help the Avatar, to be wonderful, be good, be large, essentially. And now Katara finds herself on the other end of that exact situation. And if you take like a moment to kind of think about it, she appreciates the moment. And I think she realizes exactly what just is going on and what's happening. And there is no pride with Katara. She's lived her life. She's happy where she is. It's time for a new team Avatar to go off. And it's really Bryke winking at us, being like, all right, here we go again. Like, let's go. Let's have some adventures. Let's have some fun. But there's something very nice and solemn and quiet about this moment with Katara and Korra.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also good for the audience too to see that it's mirroring the start of the adventure from Avatar: The Last Airbender with Aang and Katara and Saga because, yeah, exactly like you said, an elder is passing on the torch and saying, yes, I support you. Go. Go have your adventure and go learn how to save the world.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up something really quick. I don't know when to bring this up, so I'm just going to bring it up now.
Okay.
Did you know that Korra almost was a guy?
Really?
Almost,
no.
yeah. There was, Bryke always envisioned Korra as being a young woman. Always. They say it just felt right. It's like, this is always the thing. But someone in marketing at Nickelodeon, so I don't know if it was marketing, someone in some team, I think it's marketing. They didn't say which team. We're just like, no, you should make Korra a guy.
A dude.
Because male protagonists when was this, 2012? 2012, because we're on the 11th anniversary right now.
Yep.
In 2012 was like, male protagonists test better. Just do it. They just test better. Don't just trust us. And it got to the point where they would bring in the demographic for Legend of Korra. They'd bring in males, like all boys, and they would say, how do you feel about Korra? And they'd be like, oh, she's great. It's wonderful, like really cool. Yeah, but like, she's a girl. And you'd be like, yeah, she's awesome. But yeah, but like, does it bother you? And they're like, no, like, I think she's great. So they're even trying to like twist that and like for their own purposes. And they
wow.
I love Korra, for the record. I think she's very Sokka-esque, which I really like. She's wonderful. She's outspoken. She doesn't back down from confrontation. I think she's has a lot of growing to do. Don't get me wrong. And I think that I'm actually very much looking forward to watching that growth as we go through this series. But as a first impression goes, I like her better than Aang.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Wow.
She just hits all the notes for me, all the check boxes.
Yeah. You know, now that you mention her having similarities to Sokka, I can see it. And I can absolutely see why you like her like immediately more. I'm going to play the other side and I'm going to say I like Aang more at this point. Korra's, I know I would. Korra's going to have to grow on me. And I'll tell you right now, it's because me as a person, I relate to Aang more in his introspection and his like sense of community and, you know, his spirituality and helping the world and whatnot. And then Korra, meanwhile, is like a jock.
Yeah.
That's I finally nailed it down on like what it is about her that kind of bothered me the first time I watched. And it's because she's a jock.
She's not really a jock though.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
All right.
Just the fact that, you know, she's always been so good at the physical side of bending and being an avatar. Yep. And she's just very much like action first, questions later. The way that she approaches conflict is more like, let's beat some skulls. She's toffish, actually. She takes off
with that.
Takes after Toph a lot. And I think as an avatar, watching the show for the first time, it kind of bothered me that she wasn't more self-aware. But now going into it, I understand that's the growth. That's her journey right there. We stated it in this episode, the fact that she's always excelled at the physical side of being an avatar, but not the spiritual side. And that's going to be her journey. So I think this time around, I'm more like ready for it. But as a character, I think I prefer Aang because it's Aang.
I would argue that Aang isn't that spiritual.
He's not. I mean, like, that's part of his journey too, but
yeah, like he's spiritual in the sense that like he's aware of the spirit world and he is very much in touch with his spiritual side, I would say. But he is the furthest. Like he realistically helped two spirits. And he's supposed to be the bridge between the spiritual and physical world.
He reminded us so many times. I'm the bridge between the spirit world and the human world.
And he did it like, if you include the comics, 4 times in a lifetime that we know of so far.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting because I remember that Korra holds Aang to a higher standard than Aang ever reached that we saw so far for like this whole spiritual side thing.
Which is accurate because we do tend to venerate the deceased and venerate our like ancestors and think that they were either smarter or more gifted or more capable or whatever. And really, like, oftentimes they were just humans like us trying to figure out the world. Yeah.
And I wonder if some of that is Tenzin too. If she's like, well, Tenzin's Mr. Serious, Mr. Spiritual. That means Aang must have been. When really, I think Tenzin got that more from Katara than he did from Aang.
He did. Yeah.
And it is also possible that Aang just mellowed out as he got older and started taking things more seriously and such. Because we only saw him for 4 years, arguably, in this window. So, but it's just curious that they made that leap. And maybe it's one of those we're telling you so you know what happened to Aang, but the evidence just doesn't stack up until they release more stuff.
Are you listening, Nickelodeon?
Are you listening, Avatar Studios?
I need adult Aang and adult everyone. I need a story. I need to know what happened when they were adults.
Yeah, me too. Tell me now. Just email me.
Email us the script. Exactly. But I mean, to your point, I love the differences too, because Aang was, as we were just talking about, so much more in the side of like the tradition and the culture of the monks and the spiritual bridge between the spirit world and the human world and this and that. And then we have Korra, who's so like steeped in the physical world and being the avatar. And we're only one episode in and I love the differences that we're seeing.
I know, me too. I'm so excited.
Yes. So next they go to Republic City and they arrive to the sound of scraping metal as the doors of the cargo hold open. And without waiting for anything, Korra and Naga just race off the ship and take in the startling vastness of the city before them. The buildings sprawl into the distance. There's bridges stretching across the water. Satomobiles are bustling across the roads, and in the distance, she sees a large statue of Aang standing watch over the city. And Korra looks up into the face of her past life with awe before turning her attention to Air Temple Island, which was behind it. She asks Naga if she's ready to head over to see Tenzin, but the polar bear dog turns her attention to the smells wafting from the city. And Korra agrees. Okay, food first, then the island. Now, this moment, there's a lot of very, very subtle hints and nods to the original series. Did you notice the way that she stands there and looks up at the statue of Aang? It's kind of reminiscent of Aang looking at the statue of Roku.
Yeah.
In the Southern Air Temple.
Yeah. Oh, these mirror images, this mirror imagery, I should say, is just like so well done. It's
capturing like the spirit of the journey and how this is her looking up into her past life and really like kind of taking in the legacy that it represents. And I feel like Aang did that a lot too with Roku, understanding that he was his previous life and he had done all these things and he was so wise and capable and blah, blah, blah. So I love that little nod. And also we had to talk about the fact that this is Republic City, which used to be Cranefish Town. So this bay where Air Temple Island is Yu Bay, which is where the spirit of Lady Tianhai lived and guarded the local humans.
Oh man. I need to like I know that to be true, but I need to like be more conscious of like what this is now versus then.
Yes.
It's really cool.
So another reason why I love the fact that we went through the comics before we started Korra. And if you're listening and you haven't listened to our episodes about the comics because you're like, I'll just wait for Korra. That's what I'm more interested in. If you need something to listen to, please go back and listen to the comics. We had such a good time reading through them. And we agreed multiple times it was what we needed to bridge the gap between Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra. Because we learned so much of the lore and the story and the characters. It was the perfect bridge. Talking about the bridge between the spirit world and the human world. It was the perfect bridge between Aang and Korra.
I can't believe I forgot to mention that. I'm just full of forgetful mentioning today. Y'all just have to bear with me on this.
Let's hear it.
Remind me what Tenzin's air bison's name is again?
Oogie.
And remind me the feeling that Sokka got when...
The Oogies!
So I didn't think of this. I saw this somewhere on the internet. Someone sent it to me. What if Tenzin named his air bison after the love that his mother and father felt for each other?
It's canon now.
Canon.
In my head. I accept it. That's beautiful.
By the way, voiced by D. Bradley Baker as well.
Of course. Of course.
Why would you get anyone else?
No.
Foolish.
No. Except for maybe Andy Serkis.
Fair, but that's a much different animal casting. It's very different.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay, headcanon accepted. All right, well, we are about to go meet some more characters because at this point, Korra and Naga are looking for food and they just traveled into the big city. Naga races down the road alongside the automobiles, causing accidents everywhere. No one is prepared for this big polar bear dog to be barreling down the street. And Naga's not prepared for automobiles because that is not in the South Pole. She follows her nose to a food stall where meat is sizzling on the grill. And hungry herself, Korra orders one of everything. But when the shopkeeper gives her a price, she realizes she didn't bring any money with her because she didn't ever need it in the compound. Disappointed, she and Naga leave with Korra promising her friend that they will find something to eat. And they, in fact, find food in the form of fish caught from the pond in the city's park. As Naga continues to fish with her head in the water, Korra skewers 3 fish on sticks and uses firebending to cook them. Their lunch is soon interrupted when a man sticks his head out of a nearby bush and asks if he can have one of the fish that she just cooked. Korra agrees and he joins her on the shore. And Korra asks the man, do you live in that bush? And he says, yes, the bush is presently what he calls home. And in fact, this park houses a lot of vagabonds and he welcomes Korra to the city and is basically like, welcome to Republic City where you can see a lot of buildings, but that there bush is my home.
Very not do and toe. What was the other one's name?
Oh.
The third one. Hugh?
Yes. Hugh.
Very Hugh in terms of that, or even more maybe nomad, the nomads, Chong and all them. Very much those vibes coming from that. Also voiced by Stephen Root as well, who we met earlier in the episode as one of the White Lotus guys.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay.
So I love wacky characters. Everyone knows that. He's actually also very Boomy too.
He's a nice combination of all of your favorite wacky characters. I love him so much.
Yeah, he's so cool and just a thief too, kind of. He gets the fish willingly. He's kind of stealing a little bit.
I mean, they're all kind of stealing.
That's fair.
And there's a constable that interrupts their conversation to tell them exactly that. Hey, no fishing allowed in the park. What are you doing? So the man, when they get interrupted, advises Korra that she should probably get out of there, and then he jumps back into his bush. We do a lot of running in this episode. Yeah. So Korra races away up with Naga once again, and they soon outrun the constable. But then they come across this protester who's standing in front of a poster of a masked man in a hood. And this protester shouts into a microphone about living under the tyranny of benders. And he invites anyone that is tired of living like second-class citizens to join a group called the Equalists. Korra stops to listen and soon speaks up, saying that bending, why are you denouncing bending? Bending is the coolest thing in the world. And the man kind of smirks and says, oh, that means you're probably a bender, right? When Korra answers that yes, she is, the man says, and I bet you'd love to knock me off this platform with some water bending, huh?
I'm thinking about it.
The man takes his answer and runs with it, using it as an example of what's wrong with Republic City and its benders. Benders use their power to oppress the non-benders. And Korra is shocked to hear this, and she argues immediately, I'm not oppressing anyone, what are you talking about? But at this point, the crowd doesn't listen, and she and Naga are forced to move on. The pair soon get lost again, and Korra stops to ask a woman for directions to Air Temple Island. As the woman is explaining which way to go, a car rounds the corner, and this woman grows visibly worried. She urges Korra to leave the area and then hides as this car parks on the road and a group of men get out. The group approaches a phonograph vendor and demands that he hands over the money that he supposedly owes them. They threaten to burn down his establishment if he doesn't, and one of the men reveals he's a firebender with a flick of his wrist. This phonograph vendor tells them that business has been slow. He doesn't really have the money. Why don't you take one of my phonographs? They're really nice. And the firebender kicks the phonograph to the ground in a burst of flame and sparks. And then they threaten the man another time. And this is where Korra steps in and challenges them on their threats. The men take in her appearance and begin laughing, believing her to be an immigrant. fresh to Republic City from one of the water tribes. And they explain a few things to her. Listen, lady, you're in triple threat territory. And if you continue to interfere with us, we're going to put you in the hospital. And I'm sorry, I just keep seeing it. Korra the jock is like, fight? Bet. Let's do it. Korra responds, they're the ones who are going to need a hospital. And then the fight breaks out.
It's not like jock. Like, I'm not getting the jock vibes. I don't know what it is.
It's maybe it's the school that we went to. Maybe it's the fact that at the high school that I went to, there was just like this certain vibe that the jocks and the sports and the wrestling kids had. And it's exactly what she has.
She is very sure of herself. Maybe that's it. Maybe like she's very confident in her own abilities so far.
Yeah.
And she knows what she can do and she knows her self-worth. So like maybe that kind of attitude, but like I don't see jock. I just see like, I don't know. I just see like strength, but also maybe that's where jock's coming from.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's fine. You don't have to agree with me. I'm actually very curious. If you're listening right now, do you get the vibe that I'm talking about? Or am I just like coming out of left field with this? Because that's what I see with her every time I like see her go into a confrontation like this.
I think that I'm doing that thing where I want you to agree with me really badly. And I'm acknowledging that. And you don't have to. You don't have to. As much as like my brain is hardwired to be like, no, please do. It's just like, this is my thing. Just like, don't worry about it. Your opinion of her being jock-like attitude is completely great and wonderful. And mine of her not being jock-like is also completely great and wonderful.
I love that we disagree sometimes. We agree on a lot of things, but then some certain things we disagree on. And usually it's like these really weird,
it's so like, it's the weirdest thing to be like, to diverge on, but
no, I disagree.
She's not a jock. I swear.
This fight, though, is really good. I love the way that they animated this. The leader of the triple threat triad is a Viper, and he's the guy with like the trench coat kind of thing. He reaches into his coat, which was a really cool detail because it's almost like he was going for a shoulder holster, but instead he has like a water canteen in there. And so he reaches into his coat and then bends a stream of water at Korra, and she obviously catches it easily and bends it back at his face, and it freezes around his head. And as the man stumbles around, she delivers a roundhouse kick that sends him into the car and shatters the ice. And so the next triad, Mushi, comes after her and she launches him into the sky with an earth pillar. And at this point, the lady who was giving her instructions or directions and the guy that she was with, they're like, wait, was that earthbending? In the final triad, Two-Toed Ping comes after her with fire and she cuts through it just like she did on the training grounds at the compound. Just cuts straight through and takes him out as well. And again, at this point, the lady and her companion are like, is she? Could she be? Was that just three elements? The triads are defeated and they race to their car and they pile in and they take off down the road to get away. And Korra's like, no, you're not going to go anywhere. And so she earthbends this like trail that kicks their car into the air and flips it around and it runs into a storefront with a smash. And so she stopped them. And suddenly sirens come out of the sky and she looks up to see a metal zeppelin hovering over the street. And uniformed men leap out and use metal cords to bend themselves safely to the ground. And Korra recognizes them as metal bending officers and tells them, don't worry, guys, I got the bad guys. They're right over there. The metal benders apprehend the triads, but they also put Korra under arrest for destruction of property.
The captain of that squad, by the way, is voiced by none other than Richard Epcar, who is not a name that I know of off the top of my head, but when I looked at his pedigree, let's say, because that's exactly what it is, he's anime voice acting royalty. He's been in Lupin the Third, Robotech. He was in VR Troopers, Power Rangers, and Big Bad Beetleborgs as like random villains. He was Bato from Ghost in the Shell. Like he's been Bato like this entire time. They haven't really, as far as I can see, changed the voice actor. He was in Digimon as Myotismon and Edamon, who were both villains. He is in Bobo as the titular character. I'm not going to say that again. He's in Bleach, Hunter, Cross Hunter, Seven Deadly Sins, and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure as Joseph Joestar and many other characters.
Wow, seriously, he is like anime royalty. Those are big shows.
my jaw dropped when I was doing that research.
Well, this is the one I'm really excited about hearing about, because the officers put Korra under arrest and they take her back to police headquarters where she is interrogated by Chief Lin Beifong. Who voices Lin?
Lin Beifong is voiced by Mindy Sterling, who played Frau Farbissina from the Austin Powers movies. She was in The Great North as Junkyard Kyle, The Goldbergs as Linda Schwartz, Voltron Legendary Defender, which is the Netflix Voltron, as Reiner. He was in Con Man as Bobby Such Curly's wife, Desperate Housewives as Mitzi Kinski, and Miss Endive in the show Chowder. So not too much that
Nothing
I
that
know
of. Really.
Well, Austin Powers I remembered, but like in Voltron,
Yeah.
I never finished Voltron, but I watched a good chunk of it. But like, yeah, it was one of the things that the voice didn't sound familiar. The name didn't sound familiar. Then I kind of looked her up and I was like, kind of, I can see that. But like, awesome job on Lin for sure. Like, I love Lin Beifong.
That's why I was excited. Yes, I love Lin's voice. And we thankfully get to hear her talk a lot in this scene, because she's interrogating Korra and they're going back and forth and bickering kind of. Korra tries to explain herself, saying that it's her duty to help people. She's the avatar. And, she pulls the avatar card and the chief is not impressed. She's like, yeah, I know who you are.
Yeah. Lin also, we're going to learn, is going to become like a secondary foil to Korra. The main one's going to be Ammon, who we've already gotten a glimpse of in this episode. But this one is kind of less of a big bad evil on the horizon, and I think more of like a personal, internal kind of foil. So I really like that.
I do too. I'm really happy she's going to be in the show more.
Did you get some like vibes off of her and Tenzin together? I got some vibes.
Yes, I did.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I got those vibes. I'm very interested about those vibes.
Can't wait.
So Korra in this conversation tries to appeal to the fact that they have some shared history. Lin's mother, Toph, saved the world with the former avatar, Aang. And Chief Beifong just shoots her down, saying like, that has nothing to do with the mess that you're in today. Like, stop it and this and that. Reprimands her, saying you're not going to go out and deal out vigilante justice like you own the place. This isn't your city. And yeah, you're right. Tenzin arrives and he and Lin talk about the botched plans for how Tenzin was going to go to the South Pole and train the avatar. And they have this kind of like, they know each other. They have some history. There were some certain vibes we were picking up. But Lin was very like standoffish. She's like, listen, I have a situation. I need to settle this. And Tenzin says, okay, here's what we do. You drop the charges, and in exchange, I'll cover all the damages for Korra today. And Lin's like, fine, get her out of my city.
It's interesting. She got her mother's stubbornness, but not the charisma.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool. I like that a lot.
Cool decision. Yeah. So Tenzin and Korra go to pick up Naga from a local animal hospital where we see our first platypus bear from the Korra era. And while they're waiting, Korra tries to convince Tenzin to let her stay. She tells him that, your mother, Katara, agrees with me. She believes that my destiny is in Republic City. And Tenzin gets testy at this and says, don't bring my mother into this. And Korra does make a good argument. She's like, I'm not learning how to be a good avatar by being cooped up in a compound in the South Pole. And after seeing the city that day, she understands what he's talking about. There's a lot to be fixed, and she wants to share that responsibility with him. And so Tenzin thinks on these words as they make their way to Air Temple Island, where there's a couple members of the White Lotus who are supposed to escort Korra home. And this is where Iki and Jinora and Milo arrive on gliders, and they're excited to see Korra and are like, you're going to stay with us? And she says, no, sorry, I got to go home. Finally, when Korra is about to board the ship, Tenzin stops her. And he explains he's done the best he can to serve Republic City, but he's aware that it's fallen out of balance ever since the death of his father, Avatar Aang. He thought that by delaying Korra's training, he could have a chance to uphold his father's legacy, but then realizes now that Korra is his legacy. And so he agrees to let her stay and train on Air Temple Island. And this is where we get one of those iconic gifs where Korra lifts him and the kids up into a hug, and then Naga hugs them from behind. Yeah. I've used that gif a couple of times on Twitter. The next afternoon, Korra does a press conference to announce that she's going to stay on Air Temple Island as the Avatar. And the city's press flocks to the event. They pepper her with questions like, tell us about your stay so far? Are you trying to send a message to the triads? Are you going to continue to fight crime? Or maybe the anti-bending revolution? And she's a little bit overwhelmed, kind of stumbles through an answer, but then finally assures the city that she's there to uphold Avatar Aang's intentions for the city to be the center of peace and balance in the world. And she ends her speech by telling them that she's looking forward to serving Republic City. But in a distant location, a man named Ammon listens to the address on the radio. And as the broadcast finishes, Ammon, who's standing in front of a map of the city and its continent, ominously comments that the arrival of the Avatar calls for an acceleration of their plans.
Okay.
End of episode. Okay.
I have two more voice acting notes.
Amazing. Yes.
To really end on a strong note. The voice of the lieutenant, who is the guy that's just like, are you hearing that? Is that kind of guy. Like, are you hearing this, Ammon? Is named Lance Henriksen. And I know him most as being the character Frank Black from the defunct Fox show Millennium. It was like during the era of X-Files, and they were trying to go with like that supernaturally sci-fi kind of vibe on the night that X-Files was on, which I think was Friday.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't really take off too well that I remember. The show or the animated series Tron Uprising, which is delightful. Everyone should watch that if you like the world of Tron. It's amazing. He voiced the character Tesla, and he's also the voice of Thrallmar Farsi and the Black Knight in Hearthstone, in Blizzard's Hearthstone. Yes. The final strong like knockout blow for voice acting credits in this episode. The voice of Ammon is none other than Steve Bloom, who this guy is just he's like one of my favorite voice actors. Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop, Zeb Aurelius from Star Wars Rebels. He's basically the modern animated Wolverine voice. So not like the 90s animated series, but like more beyond that and like the 2000s and above. Wolverine. Tom from Toonami.
What?
He's Orochimaru from Naruto and Killer Croc in the Arkham Batman video game series.
Oh my gosh.
It's just, again, a small sampling. He's done considerably more, but that's the more recognizable stuff that he's done. Like he is an amazing voice actor.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
That's so cool.
I heard his voice immediately and I was like, I know who that is. Like, I love his voice. It's just, it just gives me like the
the voice acting fuzzies.
Like beyond the fuzzies. There's not even a word whenever he shows up in a thing for me. Like I just tingles, fuzzies, sparkle, all of it. Fireworks. I get fireworks is what I get. But that was the final voice acting credit that I have for this episode.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, so good.
Well, that is it for the first episode.
That's it.
Amazing. What a good start.
Amazing start.
Now, Greg, tell us, what is your moral of the episode?
While new beginnings can be tough, they can also be very exciting and have their own challenges.
It's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah. What about you?
Don't be a vigilante.
Don't be a vigilante. Good. That's easy. Nice and easy.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the silly one this time because I really, really like yours.
Oh, thank you.
I'm excited about the moral of the episodes going forward because we're in such a different world. We went from, I don't know if medieval is the right word. It's like feudal, maybe. The time period from Aang to now, we're like into the industrial revolution of this world. And we have bustling cities and automobiles and radios. And like, we're going to have a lot of differences in the technology and the culture. And so I think that we're going to get some really cool morals and situations with the characters because of that. But of course, we talked about the moral. Now we're going to talk about who is your MVP of the episode, Greg?
My MVP. This is what I've been waiting on for quite some time. I've been teasing this for a while on my stream on Monday and Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/ProfessorGreg. I feel like I've gotten a lot of messages. We've gotten a lot of messages, a lot of emails, reviews, whatever, that just say, Greg, you hate Katara. You never talk about Katara, ever. How dare you? You're the worst thing about this podcast, but this podcast isn't the same without you. You know what I say to all those people? My MVP for this episode is Katara. Legitimately, unironically, not even being a troll, which is kind of hard for me to do from time to time. This whole series would not be happening if Katara did not give Korra her blessing essentially. So for me, the MVP of this episode is Katara.
Finally, Katara gets some recognition by Greg.
But not even in her own series. Well, you know what? I would argue that it is her series as well.
She's remaining. She's like the one remaining member that we've seen so far from Team Avatar. So yeah, she's got to represent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my MVP is Tenzin.
Okay.
So the other side of the elders who help Katara, see, I did it again, who help Korra, the other K word, into her journey. He actually, I love the fact that we got to see so much about him in the first episode. And we're going to see so much more because Korra's going to be living with them on Air Temple Island. But like, we've gotten little hints of his life and what has led him to this moment. The fact that he has always been the serious one out of his siblings. He has all these children, a lot of whom are airbenders. He himself is an airbender and the only airbending master in the entire world. Like, this man is shouldering a lot of responsibility. And he's also taking on the fact that he's like trying to keep Republic City together.
Yeah.
So not only is he holding the cultural heritage on his shoulders, he's also holding like the responsibility of Republic City on his shoulders. And so the fact that he was able to give Korra the time of day and then also realize in the end, you know what? I need to be here for her. Like Aang was there for me, for my family. Like he also played a really big role in getting Korra where she needs to be for the rest of the series.
He might be. He's going to be my MVP later on. I just know it. I just have that like gut feeling in my soul that there's going to be something that happens and he's going to just take the cake.
I love Tenzin. I know. I can't wait to see more of him.
He's just like the perfect grumpy, mentor type. And it's brilliant. It's another like harken to Star Wars almost, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm going through my notes really quickly. I think we hit everything that what I felt was important from the commentary. They did talk a lot more about other subjects. So if you're interested to hear more behind the scenes stuff with Janet and Bryke, I recommend you pick up the any of the Blu-ray sets. It just the one that I have, which I think we both got actually, was the dual Avatar / Korra set. Had it, and it was really cool. There's a lot of good stuff going on, but all like the important stuff to the story we hit, except for a pun. There's a pun that they made that was accidental, where they're talking about how they didn't want to like really rehash what happened in Avatar: The Last Airbender. They wanted Korra to be its own thing, and they didn't want to water down anything. And I was like, wow, I see what you guys did there. You didn't mean it that way, but I took it that way.
Nice. So that was for you,
Greg. It was just for me, I feel like, from the past.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you're watching us on YouTube right now, we hope you enjoyed seeing our facial expressions and seeing us talking live about the episode instead of just listening to it and imagining, two little stick figures talking back and forth.
I've just been winking at the camera nonstop, full disclosure. I don't know what else to do about it. Yes, thank you everyone so much. Remember, if you caught up on all the episodes and you've done your re-listening and you know your favorite parts already, you can always join me, like so many other have, over at twitch.tv/boostergreg on Monday and Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, never Wednesday. And actually, you might see in the background, I have this wonderful piece right here of Team Avatar. This is really cool. This was actually generously donated over to me by my dear friend and mod for my channel now, Dead Sniper 19, who also listens to the podcast. And I think his review is coming up next week. So very exciting. Just admire it. Say thank you, Dead Sniper. If you ever come into our chat, you could say it in the comments below right now. I think that's what YouTubers say, right? Or you can even say it in the 5-star review if you want. I don't know. I don't think he checks those, but I do.
Yeah.
You can also find me over anywhere, Booster Greg, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. And also, if you're into TTRPGs, I'm actually in a Star Wars TTRPG over on Table Story, twitch.tv/Table Story. I'm joined by many other wonderful, much more talented role players, but it's been a great time. We're on episode 9, I think. We're pretty far into it. Wow. It's not super long, only a couple hours each. Come say hi. Tell them I sent you, and then maybe they'll have me back.
It's a really great show. And for anyone who doesn't know, Table Story is a role-playing channel on Twitch, and they put so much love and production into their shows. It's not like a bunch of people sitting around rolling dice. No. It's like a movie. Yes. Like, I'm talking like music, sound production, like a really engaging story. The chat is great. So it is really worth the watch.
And you've also lent your vocal talents to a few Table Story things as well, if I remember correctly.
I did. I did. I'm kind of an on-call voice for Table Story / Pumpkinberry, who's one of the GMs. I'll get random messages sometimes. Are you still up? It's 2 a.m. I need something. Yeah. Maybe one day I'll be on a Table Story show. We'll see. But I do have exciting news.
Yes. Please tell me. Tell me right now. Please just stop stalling. Why are you stalling? Just tell me. Hurry up. Oh, you wait for me to stop talking. That's why. I'm coming back to streaming. Yes.
Yeah. So you can find me on twitch.tv/acornbandit, where I used to stream like 5 years ago. It's been a 6-year hiatus, and I recently was thinking about it, and I have been secretly streaming on another channel that is more like writing / authorship related, but I've been thinking about it, and I'm going to come back to streaming. So if you want to catch me, I am not going to have an official schedule like Greg here. I am, in my bio, I say I am consistently inconsistent. So you can catch me on some days. At some time, which is probably going to be more morning streams, Eastern time zone related. So if you are interested in catching me, make sure you follow, turn on the notifications so you don't miss me. You get those notifications when I go live, because who knows when it's going to be. But focus is going to be probably on drawing and roleplay. Because I've been roleplaying on Wild RP, which is a Red Dead Redemption based whitelisted roleplay server. And my character is getting into some fun things, and I figure I might as well record it. So yeah, we'll be doing that. And whatever else. Yes.
And quick thank you to all the patrons who have come and gone throughout our time, and some that who still remain. Thank you so much. I promise we haven't just been pocketing that money we've been saving, because video editing is considerably more expensive than audio editing, and we knew this is something that we really wanted to do. So we really appreciate it. It really does help out. If you have not become a patron and you're thinking about it, you're kind of on the fence, take this maybe as your sign to maybe go over to patreon.com/afterthepodcast. And if you feel so inclined, you can donate anywhere. I think it's from $3 and up. It kind of depends. We have been slacking on those rewards a little bit. We apologize. But we do appreciate it, each and every one of you. So please know that. And everyone who leaves a 5-star review, go do the things. Please, you know where to find us.
We've been at this for a while. You know all the things.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time when we cover...
Oh, yeah. Coming up next time. It's been so long. I've forgotten about this.
I know.
Korra's new favorite pastime.
We'll catch you all next time on Avatar
the podcast. We got to get more in sync on that one. That's fine. We'll get there.
We'll practice. All right. Bye, everyone. Avatar, the podcast, is a proud part of the Geek Generation Network. Remember to check out all of our podcasts at thegeekgeneration.com.